KSPN Los Angeles, a Good Karma Brands radio station.
Here we go, Sunday, October 22nd, 2023. And we get you ready to count down to Week 7. The Corona Extra Rams countdown to kickoff with Travis Rogers and Kirk Morrison. Here we go. Last Sunday at SoFi, the Rams looked perfect in the second half. The Rams' high-powered offense was on point.
3rd down and 9 to the right pylon, and it's caught. Touchdown, Cooper Kupp. Touchdown, LA.
And the fearsome Rams defense couldn't be stopped.
Another shotgun snap, and here is a sack. Aaron Donald put the quarterback in the spin cycle.
It's another Sunday afternoon at the Palace in Inglewood as the AFC North and the Pittsburgh Steelers come to town. Rams are looking for a win to get back a winning record and move to 4-3, while the Steelers are coming off the bye week at 3-2.
Hi, this is Coach Sean McVay. Whose house? Rams house.
Corona Extra Rams countdown to kickoff gets you ready right now.
The Corona Extra Rams countdown to kickoff.
We count you down to kickoff 2 hours away.
Hi, this is Matthew Stafford of your Los Angeles Rams, the home of Rams football, 710 ESPN.
Corona Extra. Find the fine life. Live la vida más fina. Now, inside SoFi Stadium, with one of the fiercest linebackers to ever play the game, Kirk Morrison, here is your host, Travis Rogers.
A beautiful day here at SoFi Stadium, Week 7 of the NFL season. And, Kirk, we have a lot to talk about. I want to talk about how they're going to block, about how good Matthew Stafford has been through the first 6 weeks of the season. But
All of that.
I owe you an apology. I want to start with this. I owe you my that I did not take, and I should have. I saw the worst football game of my life last night. Your alma mater, San Diego State, hosting the winless Nevada Wolfpack, or at least they were winless until last night. Yeah. They beat your Aztecs 6-0 in the worst game I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, 6-0.
You tried to warn me, and I didn't listen.
No, it was not the score of the soccer game between Nevada and San Diego State. That was a football game.
Wow.
Travis,
nice
just to repeat, there was no touchdown scored yesterday.
Nope.
So
not
for
even
all
close,
those fans that
really.
showed up, neither team scored a touchdown. There was 2 missed field goals. It was just it was bad. We're having a down year right now in San Diego State. It's not looking good over there on the Mesa. I tried to warn you. I know you were down there with the family.
Yes.
You want to do a little of the family thing.
A family weekend at San Diego State.
Trust me, you could have went on a pub crawl and had a better time. I was trying to tell you.
Beautiful stadium, and I just want to say you had my trust, but now it's even more so because I learned the hard way. I had to go watch that thing all night long. So Week 7 today, the Steelers are in the house. And Kirk, just looking around here, looks like there might be a few Steeler fans coming to the game
just
today. No big surprise that there's a lot of black, yellow, and white today. Yeah. And this is just the reality of when you have a team like the Steelers coming in. Right. And by the way, the gates have been open for 5 minutes. And there's a lot of Steeler jerseys in the house.
Yeah, look, where would you rather be right now? Would you rather be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or would you rather be in SoFi Stadium to come in and be a part of this luxurious facility that we have here in Inglewood?
All right, so let's start with this. The Steelers, of course, are on the road, and on the road is driven by Subaru of Glendale, the #1 Subaru dealer in America. Find your next Subaru at Subaru of Glendale. Biggest question of the day for the Rams, I think, is how do you block T.J. Watt? Can anybody block T.J. Watt? He leads the NFL in sacks through the first 7 weeks of the season. What do you do to at least slow him down and make him work for whatever it is he's going to get?
Well, you got to run the football at him. So running the ball at him, also screen plays, going left, making him run right, making him do a lot of bootlegs, waggles. Those are things that you're going to have to continue to kind of play a mind game on T.J. Watt. This is one of the best players in the National Football League. I would also say you got to look on the other side, too, Alex Highsmith.
Sure.
He's the other defensive end. So both these guys, they feed off of each other. All the attention usually goes to T.J. Watt, which leaves a lot of single coverage or a single or man-to-man on the opposite side with a guy like Alex Highsmith, and that's the reason why he's been productive as well. It's a tough task regardless for anybody in the league. And I've had coaches who would always say, look, know your ability, but also know the guy from across from you's ability. And as coaches, we have to realize, like, as much as I like you, Rob Havenstein, and you've been in this league for a long time.
Here's some help.
That guy over there makes $30 million a year, okay, because he wrecks games, he wreaks havoc on offenses, and he's a difficult cover. The Rams will understand that. They will have a plan for T.J. Watt today.
What do you think that plan could be? Is it double tight ends? Are we going to see a lot of running backs staying in and helping with pass pro? How do you, if you're Sean McVay, like to your point, know the other guy's ability too? Sean McVay says this over and over again, and I think he does a terrific job with it. I'm going to put my guys in a position to succeed. I'm going to set them up for success. What does he do today?
Well, you may see some tight ends on that side. You may see some quicker throws from Matthew Stafford, getting the ball out quickly. We've seen Tua Tagovailoa do a good job with that with the Miami Dolphins, one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the NFL, because he's able to get the ball out quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe we see that today from Matthew Stafford. Maybe we see some quick throws to Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp on the inside. Or, like I said, or you could just run the football right at him. Try to see what that looks like. I know the Rams are going to be down Kyron Williams today. That's the big story. But you cannot abandon what we thought was such a success for them last week in being balanced offensively.
I want to come back to the success they had last week in a second, but you said it a couple of times now. Take me through it as a defensive player.
Yeah.
When you keep saying the way to neutralize that great pass rush is to run the ball and run it right at him, what does that do if I'm T.J. Watt, if I'm Highsmith, if I'm one of these guys, and all of a sudden the opposition isn't dropping back to pass but rather running at me?
I mentioned how much T.J. Watt makes a year. He's making that because of what?
Getting to the quarterback.
Getting to the quarterback. He's not making that because he's a great run stuffer, right?
Right.
No, run stuffers are great. That's an added luxury to what you're doing. But he's there to go out and rush the passer. So what do you do when a guy has to worry about a tight end, a fullback, an extra blocker in front of him to go out and make a play? I'm telling you, you don't necessarily want to do that. The linebackers, I love to go do that. But defensive ends, they want to get up the field. They want to rush the passer. And if you're running the football, it just gives them in the back of their mind that, okay, I have to play both. I've got to play run and pass. So sometimes if you do have that in your mindset, you're playing the run and like, oh, they're pass. Now you get into a pass set instead of just pinning your ears back saying, I know the Rams are about to pass it today. And you start working on all your moves, and that's where T.J. Watt has been successful. That's why he's got 8 sacks on the season already.
So the Rams last week, we were laughing, and laughing's the wrong word. We were scratching our heads, I think is the better way of saying it. We went into the do our halftime show, and we looked at the Rams ran the ball 3 times in the first half. Now, they didn't have a ton of plays. They only had 20 plays, but 17 of them were pass plays. And then in the second half, they come out, they open it up, 9 runs in a row. They end up throwing a touchdown pass to Cooper Kupp to punctuate that drive, get in the end zone, and that was kind of the beginning of the second half. Kyron Williams had 158 yards rushing, 150 of them in the second half right there. He obviously got placed on IR. He's going to be gone for a while. What are we going to see today? Is it Royce Freeman? Is it an old familiar face in Darrell Henderson? We're going to see a little Zach Evans. How do you think that Sean McVay is going to attack that running game? Because so much success last week, and the guy that did it is going to be gone for a while, and his backup is going to be gone for a while.
Yeah, you're going to get a combination of everything. You're going to throw everything that you've got. This is one of those tool belt games. Whatever tool you got in that tool belt, you're going to use today, right? That's what they say. A good handyman is only as good as the tools in his belt. Well, the Rams are going to use every tool they got. This is one of those todays where if I'm Sean McVay, I'm saying, guess what? If you dress today, if you have a Rams uniform on in this offensive huddle, you are going to play because we're going to need everybody. You're well aware of what's going on at the running back position.
Yeah.
You'd be a fool not to. So how can I do more? What can I do more? Does that mean now we may see more creative runs for Tutu Atwell? Okay. Get him more involved. Jet sweeps. Maybe line him up at tailback a little bit and run a couple sweep plays. Do some things a little bit differently. I know it sounds pretty crazy, but that honestly is something that you will have to do. You're going to have to keep this defense off balance. So that's why I say every man up. Every man who's dressing today on offense, you will have a hand in it just because you don't want the guys in the backfield to feel like, oh, man, well, we got to do it. We got to do it. Yes, Royce Freeman is great, right? We already know about Zach Evans. We know about Darrell Henderson. But maybe some other guys do a little bit more to help you out along the way.
How much of who gets the majority of the snaps has to do with who blocks the best? Because we started the show talking about T.J. Watt and Highsmith and how good they are getting to the quarterback. And look, the Rams are a passing football team. I know they had some success running it last week, but Sean McVay, he's got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and Matthew Stafford, they've got Cooper Kupp, you got Puka Nacua. They're going to want to pass it. How much of that running back position, and is this why Darrell Henderson is here, simply of I know where to be. I know where to pick up the pass pro. That maybe I'm not going to give you 100 yards on the ground, but I'm also not going to let Matthew Stafford take a hit that he shouldn't.
Yeah, pass pro 100%. I think that's probably the one that kind of stands out amongst all the other approaches that we just talked about when it comes to the Rams running backs today? Who do you trust, especially in those gotta-have-it moments, in those obvious passing situations? Do you have a running back on your roster right now that you know he knows to go inside out on the blitz pickup?
Right.
He knows to go outside in if that's the call, whatever it may be. But then also be able to make some plays out of the backfield if needed, right? We've seen the check down to Darrell Henderson for quite some time.
Sure.
Royce Freeman has had that ability as well. And Zach Evans, to me, look, still a rookie out of Ole Miss. He's got some ability, but this is who do you trust right now? This is all of what it's about. 6 weeks into the season, and you hear, oh, well, he's still coming along with the offense. Matthew Stafford needs guys who he can trust. I remember a buddy of mine, God rest his soul, was Ronnie Hillman, played at San Diego State with me. Mm-hmm. And I remember his conversations he had the first time he's in the huddle with Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning literally grabbed him and said, hey, my blind side is on you. Hey, for me to stand upright, it's on you. And the pride that he said he had to take because he never wanted to let Peyton Manning down.
Sure.
And that, I think, is the case today with Darrell Henderson, with Royce Freeman, with Zach Evans. They don't want to let Matthew Stafford down because it may be a heavy load today for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, does Darrell Henderson just show back up and fall right back into the familiar rhythms and the patterns? Is it the same as when he left? I mean, they traded him last season. Right. He lands in Jacksonville, did not catch on with them to start this season, was available for the Rams to sign him. Does he walk right back in and pick up where he left off, or is there a reacclimation? Do you have to relearn the language, or does he know it already?
There is a reacclimation period. You just don't walk in and just go play right away, right?
Yeah.
I think in basketball you could probably do that. Maybe in baseball you can, find an inning or two. When it comes to football, you kind of just give him a play or two here or there. Spare a guy. He may be whenever Royce Freeman or Zach Evans needs a blow, right? They'll tap the helmet, get Darrell Henderson in there for a play or two, slowly acclimate him and get him back because remember, this is who the Rams are the next 4 weeks. It's not like Kyron Williams will be back next week. This is who they are all the way up until through the bye week. So this will be something that, one of those weeks in which it's you got kind of go with the hot hand too.
That's the thing too.
Like
maybe there's somebody that can kind of jump to the front of the lead. Maybe there's somebody that can establish them. So maybe Royce Freeman comes out and picks up all his pass pro assignments, runs the ball effectively, catches it out of the backfield. It's like, oh, okay, we got our guy. Great. But more than likely is you're going to continue to see this rotation. And like you said a second ago, with Zach Evans, anytime I hear, well, he's coming along in the offense, that the alarm bells start going off in my head means he doesn't know where the trouble is. And when the number one priority is make sure that Matthew Stafford continues to take snaps.
It's like when you go to parent-teacher conferences and you say, how's my kid doing? Say, oh, he's improving. Oh, so I don't know if that's good, right?
Well, it's better than the alternative. It's better than going the other way. That is for sure. All right, the voice of the Rams, J.B. Long, is going to join us next. That's coming up on the Corona Extra Rams Countdown to Kickoff on 710 ESPN.
Valvoline in
All right, Week 7 of the NFL season is here. The Pittsburgh Steelers are at SoFi Stadium to take on the Rams. Kickoff coming up at 1 o'clock. The man on the call, JB Long, joining us right now. JB, a few Steeler fans here so far.
Hey, it's the first time since we've been in Los Angeles with the Rams that they have played the Rams here in the Southland. I mean, the last time these two teams met as the Los Angeles Rams, Jerome Bettis was a Ram.
Right.
How does that put it in context for you?
It's been a minute. So, all right, since you mentioned Bettis, we'll start right there. Talk about Rams running backs. What are we going to see today? Obviously, Kyren Williams is on IR. He's going to be gone for at least the next 4 weeks. Come back against Arizona in Week 12, theoretically. But what are we going to see today?
Well, if Maurice Jones-Drew hadn't gone to London for a month and maybe talked his way out of this league, he might have had this opportunity himself. I mean, it is striking to see just a week after their best rushing performance of the season, compiled mostly in that second half against Arizona. Their options today are the running back they cut last November and hasn't taken an NFL carry since, hasn't played an NFL game since, or Royce Freeman, who I think very highly of. I loved him as a collegiate, had a nice NFL career, not that it's over yet. Right. But what I'm getting to is his last NFL touchdown was 2019, the year that Darrell Henderson was drafted.
Wow.
So, thankfully, MJD's already come and gone here.
Right. You're good.
So I can say this without him overhearing it, which is the theory right now that it's the offensive line, that it's the offense, that it's the run removal, more than the particular running back in the National Football League. Like that school of thought, which has devalued the position contractually for the last few years. The Rams are going to put that to the test here today.
Yeah, one of the things I was just thinking about is that we know what the situation looks like at the running back spot, so I feel like everybody else has to find their way or up their game a little bit. And so I'm thinking about some Tutu Atwell type runs, right? Getting him on the perimeter, even some sweep plays. I feel like we can't all put it on the running back position. I feel like the Rams will do some different things that will simulate a run, whether it's a quick screen, getting the ball out of Matthew Stafford's hands, getting the ball on the perimeter without actually having to hand it off to the perimeter.
Two things on that. I think you're thinking along the same lines as I am. The byproduct of those plays, in addition to hopefully ripping off some chunk yardage, is it cools off the edges.
Correct.
Which is the strength of this Pittsburgh team, and I know we'll talk about Highsmith and Watt eventually. But, yes, I agree that even if you're running it and it doesn't go anywhere, you got to do it to keep them honest and to cool them off. And the other thing about the running back position is the carries, the production are important in the screen game or wherever.
Right.
But the guys who are going to play today are playing today because they're the ones that Sean McVay trusts.
Right.
To allow Matthew Stafford to practice on Wednesday, right? And so he's not going to take a chance on someone, nothing against the rookie Zach Evans. He is not going to take a chance on someone who might have a little bit more juice with the ball in his hands, but can't hold his water in the backfield because number 9 and the passing game are far too important.
Yeah, so let's go to what you mentioned, JB. You're talking about Highsmith and Watt and them coming in, and this is maybe as good of a tandem as you're going to have on the two ends. What is the game plan? Obviously, run it to keep them honest to a certain point, but beyond that, are we going to see maybe some different personnel groupings? Are we going to see some double tight end stuff? Are we going to see something that we don't typically see from Sean McVay?
I'll be curious because it's a real temptation, I think, against the Steelers defense.
Right.
They are susceptible in lots of ways. Receivers have had big days against them. They're in the bottom tier of the league against stopping the run. There is a temptation to drop to 7 and try and pick them apart. And I think the Rams have the pieces to do it. I think the offensive line has been protecting as well as I've seen them in recent years coming off of last Sunday's win against Arizona. However, this game to me is reminiscent of the Monday Night Football game against Cincinnati.
Okay.
Where Burrow's accomplished, but he was playing on one leg. And you go into that game thinking, how many points do we really need to score today to win? 18,
right.
20, 24. You don't have to beat the Steelers to the finish line. They want you to drown before they do. and when you look at the way that they win, all 3 of their wins, at least 3 takeaways. All 3 of their wins, at least 4 sacks. They've scored 2 defensive touchdowns. They blocked a punt for a safety in the end zone. They want to win gritty, not pretty. And you have to be willing to do that. Don't give those edges the chance. Don't fall into the trap, I would say, of giving them the opportunity to wreck your game because that's how they want to play.
7 years into the Sean McVay experience or the Sean McVay era in Los Angeles, there's been a lot of moments that we can talk about, whether it's games, whether it's plays. But I can't think of a moment last week to start the second half where I saw Sean McVay just drop whatever his game plan was, kind of rip it up and say, this is what we're about to do. We're going to run the football. And I know it was 9 consecutive times. It could have been the pass to Stafford, but it still turned into a run. I have never seen that in the 7 years with Sean McVay where he just said, you know what? To hell with my game plan. I want to see what we got up front, and to see them run the football the way they did and then score on that 10th play with the touchdown pass to Cooper Kupp. That was a signature moment for me that Sean McVay looked at himself and said, I have to be better. I want to do something different, and he woke this team up.
Did you say 9 in a row?
Yeah.
I love it. So you're giving him credit for the Stafford scramble, too.
Yeah. The Stafford scramble was a
There was
run.
8 design runs and then a Stafford scramble.
He didn't throw it, JB.
He didn't throw it.
He didn't throw it. We're counting
Yes.
everything.
I always have to remind myself,
Yes.
and in the process remind everyone, Sean McVay loves to run the ball.
Right.
When he has the pieces in place and when he's getting the looks and the outcomes that he desires, he was relishing, believe me, he was relishing that first drive of the third quarter just as much as we all were.
Correct.
He does love to sling it too, and he didn't go out and get this Ferrari to keep it in the garage. So he's going to let Matthew Stafford get his, and when he gets a look where he thinks, hey, the best way to defeat this is he's going to lean into doing that. However, there was a stubbornness. Yeah. There was a determination to, even though these looks that Arizona's given us are designed to kind of talk us out of it, call it and run it.
Let's go.
Call it and run it. Trust my big guys. And there was right tackle Rob Havenstein doing the Andrew Whitworth, hey,
do it again.
Run it again.
Yep.
Run it again, play caller and head coach. Give it to us because trust us, the feeling in the huddle right now is these guys are turning it down.
Yeah.
JB Long, the voice of the Rams, getting us ready for the Steelers and the Rams coming up at 1 o'clock. So after their 9 consecutive runs, they throw it to Cooper Kupp in the end zone. He gets his first of the
That's
of
a handoff, too. Let's be serious.
Yeah, right? So 15 catches, 266 yards, and a touchdown in the 2 games back. And maybe I should stop being surprised by what he's able to do because he showed up from day one. Everybody said, no, he's going to be really good. And from day one, he was really good. He's missed some time with injuries. He comes right back. He doesn't miss a beat. But in the 2 games, it's like he never left.
Thank goodness for the combine, and thank goodness for the 40-yard dash, because Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp would not be Rams. They would not be starring in this offense if there wasn't like an objective way to measure just how slow they are. Yeah. Right? For 31 other teams to be fooled by a 4-point-something 40-yard dash that just doesn't look right, because they fell to the Rams. Let's face it. They fell into their laps, and so far they've been a terrific tandem. But Matthew and Cooper think the game alike. The rapport that they have is unlike very many around the league. And so they have the potential, even in that red zone sequence, where they can feel the coverage and have it not be quite what they were hoping for, but still throw that before the top of the break, knowing that they see it the same and that Cooper's going to win and that ball is going to be safe. Matthew Stafford right now is making dangerous throws look routine, look easy, because he knows if he puts it in a certain spot, like very few people on this planet can, only good things can happen.
I feel like the Rams are still gaining this identity, but we know it's Cooper Kupp, it's Puka Nacua. The running game will be different today. I can ask producer Emily, who are the Pittsburgh Steelers? And I ask you this, JB, because I still don't know who the Pittsburgh Steelers are. Even after a bye week coming into here in Los Angeles, I'm trying to figure out who are the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2023?
Well, let's hope that they don't make in-season adjustments as well as producer Emily did, because I noticed when I show up today that unlike last week when she's over here to the west in the brutal sunshine, she is chilling in the shade
today. You don't have to tell her twice.
She's
a good decision maker.
Coachable.
And Mike Tomlin and the Steelers have leveraged their bye week as well as any team in the National Football League. Right. Since he took over the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are very good coming off their idle week.
12-4.
And so they've studied themselves. Yep. I'm sure they've realized and embraced their strengths and their deficiencies. And I'm not saying that Kenny Pickett can't come out here and play a great game today. He's a professional quarterback in this league, and he's got some good weapons coming back, including Deontay Johnson, his Pro Bowl receiver. But he's not Matthew Stafford.
Right.
And this is one of the more deficient quarterbacks and offenses that the Rams will play this entire season. And therefore, it feels like one that even though it's not a division game, even though it's not an NFC contender game, it's one that you better bank because you don't get this field tilted in your favor very often.
Will we hear the Fire Matt Canada today?
I heard that even though hockey's just getting started, right?
Yeah.
I heard that there are Steelers fans showing up in their jerseys to Pens games chanting Fire Matt Canada in Pittsburgh.
How toxic is that, man?
Well, and I even saw like their center and their running back, like they got together in the bye week and said, here's some things that I think we could tweak. Here's what would be good for me, for you, for our running game. And reading the media reports, it was like, I don't know if they upsold that to the play caller, how interested he was in that feedback. So not for me to say. I don't have the pulse of that. But from what I've read, let's hope that we're all driving home being like, okay, maybe that is a toxic situation.
Yeah. JB Long, the voice of the Rams, getting us ready for kickoff coming up at 1 o'clock, Steelers and Rams. And, kind of going back to your talking about how Puka fell to the Rams. We saw Byron Young was the NFL Rookie of the Week last week.
Sure.
Puka's already won it twice.
Yeah,
They've got it 3 times through the first 6 weeks of the season. And maybe this was by design, or maybe this is a little good fortune, and maybe a little bit of the timeline being sped up a little bit. But the ability to develop these players, these young players, and simultaneously win at the same time, it's usually one or the other. And they've been able to do both. How big of a surprise is that for you?
Yeah, you say develop, others would say throw them into the deep end and see who swims. But you're right. There's room on this roster, as we've talked about in previous weeks, for those opportunities to flourish, whereas previous, more veteran, more established teams with star power didn't have those reps available. What I've been focused on this week for BY, and good on him because he's putting a repertoire on display now, is it's not lost on me that the Rams got that pick 77 back from Miami in exchange for Jalen Ramsey. And it's good to see Jalen on his comeback. I hope he has a great rest of his career with the Dolphins. But there was an understandable disappointment when you trade maybe the best corner in the game to an AFC team that all you get back is kind of this return. Mm-hmm. I empathize with all that, but that's life in the National Football League for a quarter on the wrong side of his prime. But if in return you found a pass rusher on the edge in his rookie contract who can impact games for 4 years or maybe more, that's worth its weight in gold. And I'm not saying that Young is there yet, but there's reason to believe through 6 games that he can grow into that role. And here's the other place that I'm going with this is how much of that deficiency on the edge has he shorn up so that with the bye week and more importantly the trade deadline only 2 games away, how do you weigh the voids on your roster such that if you are fortunate enough to win here today or win 2 out of these next 3 or even 3 out of the next 3, how might that impact your thinking in terms of what you go out and look for to supplement a team that to me right now looks like a playoff team and a contender?
Yeah, and then also too, to me it kind of slows the thought process down a little bit too for the Rams.
You don't want to stunt his growth, right?
No, yeah, because it's like you have a guy, to me, when I'm watching him, the game is finally slowing down for him. And it's slowing down for a lot of the players, too, because it's like each week it's like it's a new guy. And I was looking over the roster again. I'm like, remember John Johnson?
Yeah,
him?
sure.
I'm like, there are certain players now that are just being solid. And I feel like the next step is now going out and making those plays, starting to go out and get turnovers. And Kellen Witherspoon has been great, and we don't even talk about him. How good has he been at the corner position for the Rams to where I'm not saying he's locking down one side, but, man, he's playing very efficient, and it's helping out the rest of the defense.
He's going to have a lot of good matchups again here today and next week in Dallas too. But the undercard for this game to me is former Steelers thriving with the Rams. The Witherspoon signing could go down as like the GM move of the early summer in retrospect, based on the way he's playing.
Correct.
And stepping in really to Jalen's shoes, who we've already mentioned. And then the other one is you get through the preseason, you get through training camp, and I think you've got 6 offensive linemen for 5 spots. And what's the one move they make? They trade for depth at guard, getting Kevin Dotson from Pittsburgh because they knew the Steelers had kind of picked their 5 up front. Now he's entrenched as the right guard, and he's the highest graded guard, according to Pro Football Focus, in the National Football League through his handful of starts so far. So I'm excited for him and for Spoon to go up against one of their former teams and show why they've thrived here in Los Angeles.
JB Long will be on the call alongside Maurice Jones-Drew and DeMarco Farr. Kickoff coming up at 1 o'clock, about an hour and a half from right now. JB, as always, thanks a bunch.
Okay, so win gritty, not necessarily pretty, but please, can we have more points than the 2 of you saw from the Aztecs last night?
There was no touchdowns.
Well, for my own sake.
I feel very secure in saying we're going to see more than 6 points today. I will take the over for sure. Thanks, JB. All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look around the rest of the league, Week 7 of the NFL season. That's next on the Corona Extra Rams. Countdown to kickoff on 710
and Kirk Morrison.
A beautiful day at SoFi Stadium here for a Week 7. With that spot there, we need a second easy up, Kirk. That spot right is the table's going to melt and the legs are going to start going down. We're all moving to this side. So a great day for a football game here. A lot of Steeler fans here, Rams fans trickling in as well. Let's take a look at what's going on around the rest of the league right now. Our top games of the week, presented by Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Good times. Your Raiders, Kirk, are the most puzzling team, arguably, in the entire league. They're 3-3. They are playing the Chicago Bears today, who are without their quarterback, Justin Fields. They are playing with Tyson Bagent as their quarterback out of Shepherd College.
Yep.
And he's 14 out of 19 for 104 yards, and the Bears have a 14-3 lead at the half. How? What's going on?
The dude can play.
Yeah.
He won the Heisman for Division II of Shepherd College. And for people who don't know where Shepherd College is, it's actually in West Virginia.
Right.
Okay, and it was actually where the Washington Bullets, now the Washington Wizards, but that's where the Bullets would have their training camp.
Okay.
So that's where I had a chance to interview Tyson Bagent at the Combine. His dad's a 10-time arm wrestling world champion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's got a great story.
Okay.
But he always thought about, could he go to a different college and should he move up and, the NIL world and transfer portal. And he decided to stay at Shepherd College. And look, this is why I always tell people, if you are talented
they'll find you.
In the national football, man, they will find you. In college, doesn't matter if it's NAIA, FCS, FBS, Division II. If you can play, they'll find you. And he beat out Nathan Peterman for that number 2 job. They had quarterbacks in there, and Bagent during training camp beat them all out, and that's why he's the backup. And in the NFL, backups to me is you're one play away from being the starter. And he's got his first opportunity today. They said he's got over 100 family and friends.
Crazy. Real. So let's go to the Raiders here for a second. Raiders are 3-3.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams is unhappy that he's not getting the ball enough. They say they're not going to trade him. The Raiders are still very much in it with a 3-3 record, but they're one of those teams that even though we've played more than a handful of games, I still don't know what the Raiders are. I still don't know if they're a good team, a bad good team, a so-so good. What are the Raiders through 6 weeks?
Yeah, they're winning bad.
Yeah.
They're not winning despite – or they're not winning in spite of what they have going on actually on the field, meaning that it's not like they're playing the game in a way in which you're like, wow, we're holding on for a victory, or we're getting comfortable leads. And no, it's not that. They're winning because of other teams' mistakes, right? Whether it was New England last week and then the week prior to that, they just had opportunities against the Green Bay Packers. Remember, against Jordan Love, they found a way to win the football games. Usually, you get to November, you start to see separation. But right now, Raiders at 3-3, and you've got a guy in Devontae Adams saying, look, throw me the ball. I can help us win. I know we're winning now, but we can increase our odds of winning if you throw me the ball a little more.
It was interesting. I don't measure my success in wins and losses. I measure it in greatness. I'm like, well, wins and losses matter too, right?
Right.
That seems kind of important.
I get what he was trying to say.
I get what he was trying to say too, but it was like one of those, all right, maybe we rephrase that the next time that we say it. Kirk, I don't know if anybody's ever told you this or not, but the NFL is a week-to-week league.
It is.
As further proof of that the Patriots are beating the Bills 13-3. I have it on my, I have my little notepad every day.
Correct.
And I was going to ask you if I took Carolina off the board, if the New England Patriots were the worst team in the league, because they've looked like it through the first 6 weeks, and they're beating one of the teams that felt like one of the better teams. Inconsistent, to be sure, but Patriots up 13-3 on the Bills in the third quarter.
Here's a new one for you. Write this one down. Previous week embarrassment brings this week focus. Okay? Previous week embarrassment brings this week's focus. So
That's
a team that can get embarrassed last week, trust me, your focus comes in now like, I don't want that feeling anymore. You've had bad feelings before, and you're like, man, whatever this is, I don't want that anymore. What do I do to change that? And the New England Patriots, very prideful. They're doing something about it, playing against, one of the teams that people think could be in the Super Bowl, in the Buffalo Bills. And they're playing hard. They're playing physical. I'm not surprised. Like I say, in a week-to-week league, the Patriots are up, but can they finish? So they're up 13-3, but can they finish? And a lot of teams are up, and we see it throughout college football. I'm up late last night, actually lose, and then at the end of the day, look, players play. your outstanding superstars find a way to win.
That's why they don't play one quarter.
Right.
You got to play the whole game. You got to get to that finish line for sure. With the Bills in particular, they've had a weird season. They lose to the Jets on opening night, and that story's all about Aaron Rodgers going down, but the Jets had nothing going on, and the Bills still found a way to lose that game. They go to London and lose a game to Jacksonville. We see them really struggle with the New York Giants, a week ago. They did not look like a very good football team. They managed to win the game anyway, and now here you are losing to the Patriots 13-3. They may be 4-2, but that feels like a very rickety 4-2.
Yeah, but I look at the parity more so in the AFC than in the NFC, right? I think in the NFC, we've talked about the couple teams. Now, there's no undefeated teams, right? Remember, we saw both of them go down last week in the Eagles and the 49ers. But I still feel that there is this wide margin between Niners, Eagles, and then the rest of the NFC.
Right.
I'll put Detroit in there right now.
We'll get to them in a second.
Yeah, we'll get to them. But I feel like there is a wide margin in between those two. When I look at the AFC, I can't tell you right now who's going to represent that. Yeah, we can probably say Kansas City. They'll be
even they've looked something less than their best self.
So think about it. Everybody, right? Miami, we'll see tonight. But we also saw Buffalo make them look like an ordinary football team a couple weeks ago. So it is literally, when I look at the AFC, it's almost like putting everybody's name in a bag and shake it up and pull a number.
So speaking of the AFC, the Browns are ahead of the Colts 24-21 right before the end of the first half there. We're going to see the Browns later here at SoFi Stadium. That's coming up after the Rams, a couple weeks after their bye. The Rams get the AFC North this season. We saw them struggle in Cincinnati against the Bengals. We're going to see them play the Steelers today. You get the Ravens in Baltimore later in the season.
Correct.
But this Browns team is interesting because they got that unbelievable defense. They got Myles Garrett, who, if you haven't seen it yet, go see the field goal that he blocked. It's just insane.
Ridiculous.
He jumps over the entire formation and blocks a field goal. But this Browns team, when the schedule came out over the summer, it's like, okay, get Cleveland home. That feels like when you can get. That's going to be a tough game for the Rams.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're going to get at quarterback too, from week to week.
Right.
And Deshaun Watson was available for his team today. They're up right now 24-21. The defense is much improved. Last year, the defense is what let this team down a year ago.
Yep.
This year, it's actually what's keeping them in games, what's actually helping them win games, and what actually helped them win the game last week against the San Francisco 49ers. Look, Myles Garrett is probably the defensive player of the year right now, currently. He and Fred Warner, I think, two outstanding defensive players the way they're playing right now. But if the offense is humming for Cleveland, the defense is already top-notch. They could be a scary team down the stretch.
All right, let's go to this one here. Another team that the Rams will play later this season. I mentioned it a second ago. In Baltimore, this one today, the Ravens and the Lions. The Lions, I think probably once you get past San Francisco and Philly, you kind of have to probably put the Detroit Lions in that third spot right now. They're getting it put on them. They're down 4 touchdowns at the half, 28-0.
Yeah, a little bit different when the Lions go play in the SEC, right?
Is that what this is?
That's what it is. You go to that AFC North, that's a different kind of division. That's a different kind of game, different kind of matchup. And I know what Dan Campbell preaches is about physicality, being tough-minded, all of that. And I get it. That's not necessarily what I look at when I see the NFC teams.
Right.
But when you go to the AFC North, you got to bring it. And right now, it's been a physical game up front. The Ravens have been able to run the football. And then also, too, you got to throw it in there. Lamar Jackson, when he's on point, man, he's on point. And that's what he is today. They're converting in the red zone too, which he struggled doing.
What about the Lions? And look, they're 5-1. They're this one is probably not going to go their way. They'll be 5-2. That's a great start. Anybody probably in the whole league would take a 5-2 record through the first 7 weeks of the season. Is it just because it's the Lions? Is it just because it's Jared? Jared Goff's been really good this year.
Correct.
He was really good for most of last year as well. Is it just that we're unfamiliar seeing them be a good team that I'm waiting? I just have my kind of, I'm going to need to see a little more. I'm going to need to see a little more. Is that just residue of having watched them been bad for 40 years?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit. Yeah, I'm not going to deny that. I think we think of the Lions for so many years of being a dormant team in the NFC, but now – you look at them and they're playing good football, offensively, defensively. They actually have guys that you know their names.
Yeah.
Right? You mentioned Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, right? Hutchinson, right? Penei Sewell.
Yep.
Who is the best player on the team.
Beast.
Is an offensive lineman is what the head coach has said. But that being said, though, they have to continue to stack these wins. And they will be judged on teams that are leading their division. How are they against a division leading Baltimore Ravens? How are they going to be against an Eagles team, right? How are you going to be against a 49ers? Those are the games where we'll learn more about Detroit. Are they a contender? Oh, for sure. But are they a Super Bowl contender? I think that's where we kind of stop.
I got to see it once before I believe it. I just got to see it, right? You got to see it before you can believe it, and that's going to put the Detroit Lions in that one for sure. Coming up next, Maurice Jones-Drew joins us right here on set. That's next on the Corona Extra Rams Countdown to Kickoff on 710 ESPN.
Experience.
Do you show up with an accent or something today? How's it going?
Listen, the NFL has done a great job of really was amazing, but staying up after, they were playing their games at 1:30, which is obviously 6:30 this time, and being up like a couple hours before that to prep and do all this stuff and then going through everything and then coming back to the hotel. And the NFL does a great job at their hotel where they have all these TVs with red zone and games on.
Right.
And then the whole 1 o'clock games go, and then I'm like, oh, the Rams haven't even started yet,
Right.
And so you don't want to drink. I don't drink coffee, or you don't want to do any energy drinks or anything like that to stay awake. So I was thugging it out, watching the Ramley get after it, and it was definitely tough. But I would watch and I'd pass out and wake up the next day at like 2-3 p.m. right? Because it was just long days.
Long days.
Do you think we're going to get an NFL team in London full time? You think at some point?
I think there's a possibility. I think right now they know that London can support it,
right.
But having just one team there creates a disadvantage, a competitive disadvantage, right? Because flying there, you've heard the teams that lose always complain, but it'd be tough for like a West Coast team to have to go all the way out there to
right.
play one game and then fly back. It would create a little disadvantage there. But I think the plan, and Roger Goodell has said this, is about putting a division there.
Yeah.
Right? So now you have, a team
teams?
in 4 teams, Spain, London, Paris possibly, Germany, and then they play each other. And then obviously when they play other teams, you kind of space it out where they're playing 2 or 3 teams on their away schedule. So it could work. It definitely could work, but it'll be a lot of realigning different divisions and different things when you add 4 extra teams.
Yeah, but I think the pod section of it works, right? Having pods out there. And I bring this up because the Jaguars played 4 games in 19 days. Right, they actually stayed over in London for an entire week. They played on a Sunday, stayed the entire week, then played the next Sunday while teams flew in to play them. And they were successful. They've won 4 in a row. It hasn't stopped them from what they're doing. They even had to play on a Thursday night, and they beat up on the New Orleans Saints the other day. So I feel like we're getting more and more data that it can work. It's just how you plan it, because I see other teams say, well, we're going to fly out on Thursday, and we're going to treat it like a regular week, and we'll be out there Sunday. And you see teams that just fall flat for the first part of his game, and then all of a sudden they wake up. So I feel like the Jaguars got something going.
Well, I think it's Baltimore is the one you want to see, because a couple of years ago Baltimore did they flew out on a Thursday, kind of did it, and then they got a shellacking by the Jaguars, right? And so all of a sudden Coach Harbaugh comes back, John, and says, we're going to go out there for the whole week. We're going to go out here and get acclimated. We're going to do all this. And then the Titans came out on Thursday, and the Baltimore Ravens really just ran. So it's about really learning and understanding.
Figuring it out.
And the Jags are the test baby, because they're going to go out there, play 2 games, then they come back, no bye week. Then you said 4 games in 19 days. So this is the kicker, though, Kern. I'm gonna just drop a little knowledge for you here.
Okay.
So while we were there was a team from New York, Eden Hall, came to play the NFL Academy, and they came out on like a Thursday or something. They played on a Tuesday. And the Academy got after him. It was 35-0. It was a great event. And so, me, politicking, because I got to politic a little bit.
Correct.
I started rubbing some elbows. I said, hey, maybe, the great De La Salle can come out here.
Sure, the Spartans.
And maybe the Spartans of De La Salle can come out here and really figure this thing out and see if we can learn something from the Jaguars as well. So there's a lot of things that the NFL is doing, and they're learning and gathering. And they're trying to build this thing from youth football up.
Right.
But they're getting high schools to go out there and play. They're, and all these different things, and they're giving you information to learn. So one of the things I did learn is that it's most important when you land, you got to practice right away.
Yeah.
Practice right. You got to burn energy, get it out, and then try to get on their schedule as quick as possible. You got to get guys up, moving, doing different things the next day. You want to keep guys up when the sun's out, right? And then obviously when it gets dark. So they're learning a lot of things, and these teams are doing a great job when they come. It's, Buffalo struggled against Jacksonville, so they want to, everyone complains when they lose. But at the end of the day, the Jags are showing that you can play there. The Ravens are showing you the same thing, that they've made adjustments to go out there, and they're playing well. And obviously in Germany, you're going to see those next couple things as well.
Maurice Jones-Drew joined us before the Steelers and the Rams. Kickoff coming up at 1 o'clock. What's the running back going to look like today? Obviously, Kyren Williams is on IR.
Yeah.
He's not eligible to come back until week 12 against
Travis,
in Arizona.
Ask him the real question. How many plays you got left?
Bro, listen.
You know what I'm saying? How many plays you got left?
Look,
You ready?
they brought C.J. Anderson off the joint, man, off the couch.
I remember.
I was on a flight, so I got a little bit more juice left in the tank. I didn't get the call though. My boss, Jory Hirsch, I was like, "So what's going on? Like, do I need to?" I went and jogged the other day. Make sure I'm tight. Like, I need to wrap these hamstrings up. Just wrap them a little tight so we good. No, I think. Look, watching the Arizona Cardinals game, we know the Rams are at their best when they're balanced.
Yep.
Right? You need a balanced diet. You need some run, some pass, some play action pass. We need to attack them all over the place, and having Cooper Kupp back is awesome. But Royce Freeman, to me, I think, and Henderson, Darrell Henderson is going to come out, and he's going to be explosive and do some things. But Royce Freeman's been there, right? And we've seen the Rams running game. It hasn't been side to side. It's been what? A gap to A gap. Yeah, we're going downhill. And when you have Royce Freeman, who's out of Oregon, and they did some things against my Bruins, who won.
Yeah.
But I loved him when they brought him in. I talked to Coach Ron Gould about him. I thought that he should have had a better NFL career than he's had because of the style that he runs with. He just was in different systems. He was in a zone system.
Right.
And so he needs to get his shoulders square and go downhill. And I think this may be a fit that you're like, uh-oh. And let's remember this, too. Against Pittsburgh, against these great defenses, you have to go at them.
Right.
You can't allow these guys to run side to side. You got to go at them. You got to go at T.J. Watt. You got to dig your cleats in the ground and get some push. So I think Royce Freeman, to me, personally, I just got back a couple days ago. So don't let me lie to you and tell you that I know everything.
No.
Just from my perspective,
We're learning
I
as
think,
the week goes, right?
I'm reading stuff too. I was on the flight reading stuff. I was like, JB, what's going on? But I think going downhill with Royce Freeman will wear down his defense and allow that secondary that's given up a lot this season to be a little bit more vulnerable.
Well, I think that just the situation in general has brought to our attention what I've seen for so many years with the San Francisco 49ers. It's never about just one guy. And I know they have Christian McCaffrey, but it is the guys behind them, whether it's Mason or Elijah Mitchell. We know Raheem Mostert in years past, and Matthew Breida, Jeff Wilson. Like, it's going to take you more than one running back. I was skeptical last week with the Rams and the production from Kyron Williams because as great as he's been at times, in the back of my mind, I'm saying he hasn't shown it where he can be as sturdy. He hasn't shown me he can be a bell cow back. He hasn't shown me that he's not technically right now. In 2 years in the National Football League, he's starting to get the injury prone.
No question.
And that's the part where I feel like the Rams are today not auditioning for the running back position for years to come, but they're showing that, okay, we're going to be running back by committee whether you like it or not because we can't just depend on one guy.
I think everybody's like that. And don't get me wrong, I love the player safety initiative and the player safety rules, but you don't get to get your bodies calloused like we did in the heat in Jacksonville, right? The two-a-days.
So in an effort to try to prevent injury, you think there's more of them?
Well, yeah, I think you're just not calloused.
Right.
Your body's not ready. You haven't got rolled up early in camp and then had to miss a couple days, and, you get that extra – calcium deposit in those ankles, right? Like
17 games, a long time.
And it's a marathon, so it's going to be tough for one running back to run 20 times or 15 times or how many ever times you want to do for 17 games. And so I'd always believe there's a guy you just want that work, you just want that guy that you can give the ball to in the fourth quarter and just let him in those games.
Right.
And so with the Rams, and like you said, like everybody, you should have multiple guys there to go out there play, but you're paying the guy. You want to pay the guy that I know when the game is on the line, I can hand him the rock and he can close out a game. That's when you get paid.
I can be available.
Be available, right? That's the only ability that I care about, right?
Yep.
Availability is the best ability. One quick one before we let you go, Mo. They're 3-3. We'll see how today goes. Obviously, Dallas next week, and then the NFL trade deadline's here. Sean McVay kind of hinted that they were going to probably sit this one out. Is that a little chess? Is that could you see them making a move because they're very much in the NFC? 3-3 put you right in the middle of that playoff.
Well, I think they've made some moves. You went and traded the Steelers for the linemen, and they obviously got Cooper Kupp back, and they've done some different things. It just depends. To me, it depends on who's available and what the price is.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're in the F them picks era anymore,
No.
right? It's the Taylor Swift tour, and they got all these different eras. We know that era's done. Like we can go back and do a reunion tour later on, but that era's done. We're in now like, okay, we want to build via the draft, and yes, if we can get a guy for the right price that can help us going forward, we'll do that. But I don't think that they'll do like a big Jalen Ramsey trade, or they'll do whoever it may be. They're not going to do that. So I'm excited to see what they do and where they're looking to go. But right now, you have a lot of rookies playing big minutes that are showing up and flashing. So why would I want to mess that up? That growth and that potential of having a big-time player because, I want to get it done right now. Like, no, I'm okay with that.
Maurice Jones-Drew will be alongside JB Long and DeMarco Farr for the call of today's game. Steelers and Rams kick off.
5.
As always. Thanks, Mo.
No problem.
All right, Kirk, so we were talking about the trade deadline, which is coming up at the end of the month, and Sean McVay said about 10. They're still very much in it. Win a game today, and all of a sudden it could be very, very different, right?
They even had in the beginning of the season. This is something now that when you look at it, the more and more that they're continue to play at the level that they're playing at, they're learning more about themselves, and they're learning that, hey, they can win more games. That there is I think a calmness about Sean McVay and just a look of, I know what we have, and I know we can continue to go out and get. I'm not afraid to go out and make a move here that keeps us in the hunt for making the playoffs.
What do you think the number is in the NFC? Does 9 wins get you in for sure? Do you think you have to get to 10, or is 9 going to be good enough?
9 will probably be enough, I think, for the NFC. Look, because so really,
how you get to 9 wins. Games like today and it goes the other way, or how you come up a game or so short. Coming up next, Super Bowl champion Andrew Whitworth right here on set. That's next on the Corona Extra Rams Countdown to Kickoff on 710 E.
On point, 3rd down and 9 to the right pylon, and it's caught. Touchdown, Cooper Kupp. Touchdown, LA. And the fearsome Rams defense couldn't be stopped.
Another shotgun snap. And here is a sack. Aaron Donald put the quarterback in the spin cycle.
It's another Sunday afternoon at the Palace in Inglewood as the AFC North and the Pittsburgh Steelers come to town. Rams are looking for a win to get back a winning record and move to 4-3, while the Steelers are coming off the bye week at 3-2.
Hi, this is Coach Sean McVay. Whose house? Rams house.
Corona Extra Rams Countdown to Kickoff gets you ready right now.
The Corona Extra Rams Countdown to Kickoff.
We count you down to kickoff 1 hour away.
Hi, this is Matthew Stafford of your Los Angeles Rams, the home of Rams football.
Corona Extra. Find the fine life. Live la vida más fina. Now, inside SoFi Stadium, with one of the fiercest linebackers to ever play the game, Kirk Morrison, here is your host, Travis Rogers.
We're joined by one of the fiercest offensive linemen to play the game, the Super Bowl champion. Him on Amazon. Of course, we're talking about Rams great Andrew Whitworth joining us here as well. Andrew, thanks for coming by. Appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate it. Good to join you guys right before this game gets going.
Absolutely. So let's start right here. When last year went so bad for a million different reasons, it was mostly because the offensive line got off to a bad start and got worse from there. How impressed are you with what you've seen through the first 6 weeks with this group of guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you keep some continuity and a couple guys healthy, it's definitely going to help. I mean, last year that injury rate was pretty out of this world. But, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of guys that they believed in, and I myself believed in. And so it's good to see them get some snaps, play some snaps together, see some of these guys that have been able to step in. I mean, you look at Avila, the rookie, I mean, how he's played. It's been cool to see a guy get in there from day one and play that way. This group is a reason that they look competitive this year in the way they've played.
You know, Andrew, you watched this team throughout the preseason and the offseason. You saw them practice, but Are you surprised at how well they've played these first 6 games and how cohesive they've been as a unit?
I think really with the philosophy that Sean and the offensive staff really put together for what they were going to do to try to run the ball, to try to protect Stafford, all those things. I think these guys, they're fit. Schematically, what they are, they're big. I mean, this is a much bigger group than probably in past groups. So their style, this gap scheme, kind of leaning downhill on people and building play actions and marrying the run and pass like Sean loves to do. These style of guys, this is their thing. Like, they're going to have to every week sign up to lean on people, make it physical, and get it nasty. And when you see them play that way, that's the reason they've been in some of these games where you're like, wow, I mean, they're taking teams even that you would have expected they had no chance against this year down into the fourth quarter and trying to, take them in that deep water, as they say, because they're that style of group. They're big, they're heavier guys. Like, let's lean on some people, let's be physical, and let's protect the quarterback.
Andrew Whitworth, the Super Bowl champion, joining us here. What is it like when you're coming into a game and your number one guy, Kyron Williams, isn't there, number 2 guy, Ronnie Rivers, isn't there? You're going to have some guys that are either inexperienced or just came back in the case of Darrell Henderson. For you guys up front, does anything change?
It doesn't change much. I mean, the expectations and things that, and the way you do things and hit blocks really don't change depending on who's back there. It's more having a little bit of an understanding of maybe a guy's style, and I think luckily for them, at least with Henderson, they know him and kind of what his style is, and so that helps. But then also, is there a better group probably over the last year and a half that's more prepared for dealing with playing without the guy they expected to be there? I think this group knows that well, and I think they've learned their lessons from last year. Like, hey, how do we adapt week to week to play better, when there is people out of the lineup? And I think last year that was such a shock because really in my 5 years here, we'd been so healthy up front, and really on offense in general had been so healthy. Maybe we lost one guy, but really that was it. Correct. And so I think that they've learned from that, and they're going to build off of it.
Look, you got a great relationship with Matthew Stafford. You guys are really close friends. What have you seen from Matthew this year as opposed to his first couple of years in Los Angeles?
I think, what's been special, just being around in camp and in the off season and meetings and kind of popping around the building, his mindset and just the look in his eye is just different. I mean, great players who've had success in this league that have played at an elite level like he has, when they still have that competitive fire, when they start hearing your team has no chance and this team's not going to be this or that, I think people forget last year they came off of winning the Super Bowl at the highest level. We're expected to be at that level again. Had an insane injury history rate, worst in the offensive line history in the game. Yeah. And it makes you just, this. In this league, second string, when you get past that into third, into fourth, and the guys off the street, there's a reason this is called NFL football. It's tough to compete. And so when you start telling a Stafford, hey, no matter who's around you, you got no chance to compete, I think this guy knows who he is. And so there was a look in his eye that a couple times in the building I caught in camp, and I was like, man, I don't know what this season's going to look like. But he's got a smile and a look in the eye that just seems to me like he knows more than I do right now. So, and I've seen it from him. He has looked tremendous this year to start.
Andrew Whitworth joining us on the Corona Extra Rams countdown to kickoff. Kirk mentioned, the 5 years that you were here. When you came in at the same time as Sean McVay, and, we didn't know who Sean McVay was, other than he's a young guy, kind of on the come, and everybody was excited to see what it was. He went out and got you. That you were an important part of him coming here and you establishing a culture of what the next generation of Rams football was. What was your mindset when you were coming in to say, not just come after spending so much time in Cincinnati, but, hey, I'm going to come and build something with this guy?
Yeah, I think Sean's never let me live it down because my wife, spilled the beans on me. But, first time we probably went during the season, in the bye week, I think we went and had some drinks and dinner together, and she told him that on the flight over from Cincinnati when I agreed to sign here, I looked at her and told her, like, the only thing we're going here to do is, like, I really love Sean. I think this guy's going to be pretty special. We're just going here to help change a culture, and we've basically just traded in any opportunity of ever winning a Super Bowl or really playing in those kind of games to come here and be a part of building something really special. And I was really looking forward to that challenge. And so I think she shared that with him after our first season, and now he never lets me live it down. So, that was really the mentality. And to me, that's really where it always starts in any franchise. You look at the most successful ones, they do the little things really well, and inevitably that leads to them being able to do the big things well.
You play for so many years, and then now second year retired, and you get a chance to see the league differently, right? Especially Thursday, being on the field and watching the Thursday Night Football package on Amazon Prime. What have you noticed now being away from the game but seeing it from a different sort of lens?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things that, I laugh about all the time every Thursday, I send my wife videos of just, both teams coming out, the national anthem, the flyovers, the lights, And she laughs at me. She's like, honey, you've done this for 16. Why do you send me these videos? I'm like, honey, I've never noticed any of this stuff. Correct. This is awesome. So, honestly, it's part of how big and how amazing this game is that we get to play. What a big stage it is. Yeah. And to be so proud of all the guys that do it. And I think I try to do that as much as I can. Obviously, you know, you're an analyst. You want to be critical in the sense of you want to make sure that you're talking about what's good football and what's not and where guys could be better. But I also want to make sure I highlight how special this game is, how amazing it is these players are and the coaches and everyone else involved. And I think that's what I've probably sat around the most and been just in awe of is just the different personalities, the different athletes, and then what makes up NFL football.
Andrew Whitworth joining us here on the Corona Extra Rams Countdown to Kickoff, and Morning Thoughts are presented by Quaker, a super trusted superfood and the official oatmeal of the Los Angeles Rams. Take me through what it's like as an offensive lineman knowing that you got a T.J. Watt on the other side.
Whew. You know, it's a stressful week. You're probably not eating as much, trying to stay light because he's going to make you run around, that's for sure. But, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, take with a grain of salt what I'm going to say here. Like, you technically have to go in just like it's anybody else. Now, you obviously know it's not anybody else. But technically, that's really what happens. You go watch the great ones play. If you did a sack study at the end of the year, what really those guys are able to do is either with their get-off, with the way they rush, they get guys out of their game. And we know this playing. Like, that's really how you start to dominate somebody and have success. Is it's not that, like, you on them and their best is what you're looking for. You're actually looking to some way to get them to stop playing their game. And that's what a guy like T.J. Watt does. His get-off, his tenacity to keep rushing takes you out of your sets. And so you have to keep this mindset while you play him. Like, this is anybody else. Perfect sets. Get off the rock on the right time. Put my hands in the right places. Stay calm and just use the technique and abilities that I have and don't overreact. And then you also know with a guy like him, there's going to be some plays where you're going to have to survive the down a little bit. and that's what it is. You might be off balance. You might be this or that, but you got to finish him constantly. And so that's really the mindset it takes to play against a really great player.
We're here at the ESPN LA 710 tent at the American Airlines Plaza. But if you look to our left, there's a little banner up there that says Super Bowl champions, LA Rams 2021. You've been here many times since, but every time you pass by that, you see that. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Man, you know, I pinch myself. Every time it's just so just a surreal feeling. I was actually here, believe it or not, as a Swiftie for the Taylor Swift concert this summer, and I was sitting up there, one of the first times I've really been here, and like sat in the suite up there and for the concert, and I remember the sun was setting, and I was kind of just looking out on the field, and her stage was in the end zone where Cooper Kupp scored there at the end of the game. Yeah. And I was just having a moment where I was going, this is sick. She's the biggest star on the planet right now. She's playing in a stadium that I won the Super Bowl in.
Wow.
You know, and it was like, it's crazy. Like, just that feeling to sit there for a second and be like, wow, this is for real. This is L.A. We won a Super Bowl. Taylor Swift's in the end zone where Cooper Kupp scored. I think I was laying on the ground right there. It's great. It was just an unreal feeling.
He is a Super Bowl champion. He is a Swiftie, and he is Andrew Whitworth. Appreciate you coming by.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. Lots more to get to on the Corona Extra Rams Countdown to Kickoff on the ESPN LA Rams Radio Network.
Rams Steelers Week 7 NFL Sunday.
Rams football.
Corona Extra. Find the fine life. Live la vida más fina.
Once again, back to Travis Rogers and Kirk Morrison.
Kirk, you're going to want to hear this. The Carl's Jr. Big Char Chili Burger is here. A whole flame-roasted Anaheim chili and big smoky sweet flavor. It's what you get when Carl's Jr. plays with fire. We're on a little bit of a Super Bowl heater right now. We spoke with the Super Bowl champion, Andrew Whitworth. Now we're speaking with Super Bowl champion, DeMarco Farr. How's it looking inside, DeMarco?
Oh, gorgeous, beautiful. Watching Puka Nacua warm up, watching Cooper Kupp go about their business. Seeing Puka with his family just a minute ago, heartwarming. Reminds me of when I was that age. You know how proud they look of their offspring out here on the field. Just really, really cool. But a lot of black and gold.
Yes.
Or black and yellow in the stadium.
Yes.
It's weird. It's a respectable fan base, so you can't hate them. I kind of hate who gave you the tickets to get in here. How about that?
Yeah, there you go, for sure. You know, you talk about Puka there a second ago and how proud his family must be to see him. We kind of get spoiled a little too quick. Like, here we are. It's Week 7 of the NFL season, and just kind of take a step back and how incredible of a beginning of an NFL career he's actually had.
Yeah, I think he benefited from Cooper Kupp not being hurt the first part of the season. But look, he's a guy that's been open. He had a chance for a touchdown catch in the end zone. This very end zone he's standing in last week, and he dropped it. So there's a lot of opportunity left for him, even with number 10 back in the lineup. Tutu Atwell as well. These guys really, really set the tone for the offense in the absence of Cooper Kupp. Now that he's back, they're still those same guys. And this offense will make you take advantage of the one-on-ones you get because of Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford throwing the football. So a lot left to do for Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua today and the rest of the year.
Is it a lot more on Puka and Cooper Kupp today, or is it a situation where Matthew Stafford feels like he may have to do it all by himself, DeMarco, because of not having the running game with Kyren Williams today?
You know what's crazy? We just had this on the pregame show. You know, I'm not sure if that was Kyren Williams.
Right.
I'm not sure if that was Ronnie Rivers, their ability. The offensive line was doing a fantastic job. Absolutely taking it to the Cardinals' defense. The Steelers' defense, they're not very good stopping the run. They haven't been good stopping the run. Coming off a bye, they're going to be a little bit fresher. But if the Rams can do what they did to Arizona, to the Steelers today, it doesn't matter who's carrying the rock. You're going to have success. And if you keep the Steelers off balance, if you run the ball and make them honor that, you keep those edge rushers off Matthew Stafford, you'll have a chance to win this football game.
Yeah, DeMarco, is that the number one priority when you're Sean McVay, when you're trying to design whatever it is you're going to do offensively, is to try to make sure that T.J. Watt and Highsmith are at least human today, that they don't have one of those days that we're talking about where this guy had 3 sacks, the other guy had 2. Just slow those guys down. Everything else takes care of itself.
Look, if you get in third and long situations against the Pittsburgh Steelers, look, I don't know what to tell you. That's the exact place you don't want to be against them. That's how they're winning football games. That's how they're staying afloat, through edge pressure and taking the ball away. Other than that, they can't score on offense. They can't stop the run. But when they get you in obvious passing downs, it's almost a virtual certainty. One of those edge guys, T.J. Watt in particular, is going to get to you.
You know, the physicality that the Rams showed to start the second half last week, DeMarco, was something I was telling JB earlier that I've just never seen that before in the Sean McVay era. How do they bring that this week? How do they carry that over from what they did in the second half last week versus the Cardinals to start the game off that way against the Steelers?
I don't think you have a choice with the way the offensive line is constructed, Kirk. I mean, go back or look at this offensive line and then go back and look at last year's, the year before, even the one that won the Super Bowl. It's a stark difference in size and attitude.
Right.
It was more about how smart. It was more about locking guys in if you got them to jump off sides. This offensive line is about physicality. They are about knocking people on their butt. So I think that's how you have to call the game, and I think that's how Matthew Stafford has been able to really affect defenses off play action, because you have to honor it. When you're running the football as a defense, I either got to commit another linebacker or a safety into the line of scrimmage, which leaves you vulnerable to the pass game. So as long as this O-line keeps doing what they're doing, I think Matthew Stafford should have a field day today.
If you think you can predict the outcome of today's game, play Rams Pick'em presented by Pechanga Resort Casino for the chance to win tickets to the NFL Championship game and more. Head to therams.com/pick'em to make your game predictions. We're joined by the Super Bowl champ, DeMarco Farr. DeMarco, what do you make of where Byron Young was in Week 1, his first NFL game, to where we've seen him through the first 6 weeks going into Week 7? How much has he improved?
I'd say right on pace. And it was asked to me, am I surprised by Byron Young? No, he was drafted to do this. And since he was drafted, he was handed the job and has taken most of the first-team reps in practice and games. So I am not shocked by almost midseason that he's finally starting to show up. At some point in your NFL career, things will start to slow down. The more you rep it, the easier it's going to become. Like you said, think small, the big will take care of itself. I think that's what you're seeing. And he got his first real sack last week, coming off the edge. Beat DJ Humphries right up the field, got the ball out. Huge play. So that was his first real NFL sack. Hopefully, blood in the water, you'll want more. You start acting like a shark.
DeMarco Farr joining us here before the Rams and the Steelers. There you go, Kirk.
Oh, yeah.
All set.
Our computer messed me up. DeMarco, what scares you about this Pittsburgh offense, though? I mean, because I was telling JB, I don't know what their identity is. They bring back Deontay Johnson. We know what George Pickens looked like. Najee Harris has been rushing, but not at the average yards per rush that you would expect. And they have a quarterback in Kenny Pickett that, is sort of up and down. And then they're trying to fire, well, not they're trying to fire. The fan base is trying to fire their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada. I don't know what kind of Steeler team I should expect today.
Well, we were talking about Barry Young. The guy that I can't wait to see is the left tackle that's going to line up over him, the first rounder, Broderick Jones.
Yes.
Now, he is a snootful. He's a guy that absolutely brings it. So that's going to be a battle within itself there. But Najee Harris is a guy that, to me, you have to worry about. And he is Pittsburgh Steelers personified. He's big, he's tough, he's strong. He wants to control the clock, take air out of the football, and play defense behind it. So the faster you can take him out of the equation, the easier it's going to be for you to win this football game. Put the game on Kenny Pickett's shoulders and watch him throw picks. That's the way I'd say it. Take away Najee Harris, then get after Kenny Pickett and win this football game.
DeMarco, last one before we let you go. What is it like when you're going into a game against an opponent like the Steelers who just kind of want to make it ugly, who want to make it messy? That's not a track meet. They're not trying to JB said it beautifully. It's not who gets to the finish lines first. They just want to make sure you drown before they do.
Yeah.
When you're going into a game like that, how do you not get into the mud? How do you not make it messy when that's what they want to get done?
Well, don't play their style. That's number one. And take advantage of your opportunities when you get your hands on the football on defense. If it's on the ground, make sure you come up with it. And the last thing you want to do is give them takeaways and help them. Because, like you said, if you get behind Mike Tomlin, like 7 points or 10 points, and then you start turning the ball over, it'll be 2.5 quarters before you'll have an opportunity just to get back in. They know how to win that ugly AFC North style football. Only thing that's missing is snow. So the last thing you want to do is play that style of football. So play your brand. Bring them out to the West Coast. Let's extend them and see if they can defend the entire field or go the length of the field to score to beat you.
He will be on the sidelines for today's game. He is a Super Bowl champion. That's DeMarco Farr. Thanks, DeMarco. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it, guys.
All right, Kirk. We'll talk about how the Steelers love to make it ugly. They're not going to. They do not want to make it pretty. They just want to win, and they just want to have one more point than you do at the end of the day. It's coming up next on the Corona Extra Rams Countdown to Kickoff on the ESPN LA Rams Radio Network.
7 Rams-Steelers. As the Rams look for back-to-back wins at SoFi this week and look to get the running game on fire like last Sunday against the Cardinals.
Matthew Stafford in the pistol. Kyron Williams behind him. Tutu Atwell in motion from right to left. They turn. They give Kyron a stiff arm. Trying to get around the right corner. More physicality for Kyron to the front pylon.
Of course, the Rams are going to have to go down that running back depth chart today. We'll keep our eye on it as we count you down to kickoff for Week 7 NFL Sunday.
Once again, back to Travis Rogers and Kirk Morrison.
Kirk, you know what I'd like to make a habit?
What, $1 for every TJ Watt jersey today?
Well, it would be
Make a lot
both
of money.
be very rich guys along the way. That would be all right. But I like giving away nachos because we did it for the first time last week against the Arizona Cardinals. And Rams fans, El Torito is offering free nachos when your Los Angeles Rams successfully make a 4th down stop. So get loud. This is Nacho First Down. Visit therams.com/rewards for more details. We were just talking during the break, Kirk, that we think the Steelers are the last team that we haven't seen in person here in Los Angeles since they came back 8 years ago.
Yeah, we were thinking it's Steelers for sure. Miami Dolphins, we haven't. I don't believe the
Jared
Dolphins.
Goff's first start in the Coliseum
Was it
against the Dolphins. Yep.
Oh my God,
Yep.
that was so long ago.
That was it was
this is
the
like
first
the
year.
last one of the last teams to truly come in here because we see the fan bases.
Yep.
And this is definitely the first time I've seen all of this black and yellow come in here, and they're going to be loud. They're going to be proud. Again, this is one of those games. I remember last year when they played against the Chargers.
Sure.
And they drowned out the Chargers.
Sure.
Fans. And so it could be one of those situations again today. But I feel like there's always enough Rams fans. There's more Ram fans. And
absolutely.
We know that, look, a lot of Rams fans sometimes may sell their tickets to Steelers fans who want to pay the premium to come to a game here at SoFi Stadium. We get it. But I always say the division matchups always seem to be the truer test of the Rams fans. They usually come out for that one because
no doubt.
You see those games every single year.
Absolutely.
Those fan bases come through every year.
So how do the Rams not get into the mud with the Steelers? A Steeler team that is pretty limited offensively, a team that's not going to score a ton of points, that doesn't have a quarterback that you expect to go out there and light it up for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's going to be a game that the Steelers would like to play in the teens or the low 20s.
Correct.
How do you prevent it? How do you not get down into the mud pit with them?
Yeah, I think let's control the clock. It's going to be a low-scoring game, I believe. It's not going to be one of those shootouts. It's not going to be a game played in the high 20s. To me, I feel like whoever gets to 20 first.
You think 20 is the number?
I think 20 may be the number, and who gets there first and who's able to play with the lead. I would love to see Kenny Pickett have to throw the football a bunch today. So can the Rams play with the lead? We always talk about that each and every week. Can the Rams get out to a nice little start and then force the opposing quarterback to have to drop back? And can Aaron Donald have one of those big games? Look, he'll be playing against a lot of his hometown friends.
Yeah.
In terms of the people
Well,
back
he said
in
it. He
Pittsburgh.
still thinks of himself as a Steeler fan.
Yeah,
he grew up in Pittsburgh and went to Pitt.
Yep.
So this is a reverse homecoming for him in a way.
He'll have a little extra juice today.
What's it like when you're going up against a quarterback who, is limited in some of the things he can do as a defensive player?
Correct.
And you know that he's not going to sit back there and just dice you apart. You got to be perfect to do this. When you have a quarterback like Kenny Pickett on the other side, how do you take advantage of it?
I think it's difficult because you don't want him to have that game against you.
Right.
Because he has that capability.
Sure.
A lot of us saw Kenny Pickett at Pittsburgh, right, at the University of Pittsburgh. And he had some of those bigger moments, bigger games. And I believe he played in the conference championship, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So he has that ability. Their offense is coming off of a bye week. So what new wrinkles do they have? What have they talked about? What have they self-scouted themselves about to say, hey, we're a better team now than we were the first 5 games of the season because we're able to figure some things out. You don't want that to be the day where it all clicks.
All right, we'll get you the actives and the inactive list coming up in just a little bit. We'll give you our final thoughts of the day before we hand it over to JB, Maurice, and DeMarco. That's all coming up on the Corona Extra Rams Countdown to Kickoff on the ESPN LA Rams Radio Network. Evans are all active for today. We're going to see all three of those guys touch the ball at some point today?
I think so. Why not? Give everybody a touch. Give everybody some playing time. I've said it throughout this program. This is your running back room at least for the next 4 games.
Right.
With Kyron Williams out for 4 games, at least being on IR. So that takes you all the way through the bye week. And so these 4 guys these 3 guys are going to have to get it done. Whichever way it's going to be, who has the hot hand, who's going to show out better. It's a lot that goes into today's game that kind of helps them over the next couple of weeks as they have to go on the road.
Is the top of the list, if you're Sean McVay and you're prioritizing the skills that I need for my running backs, in particular for today against TJ Watt, against Highsmith, is it pass pro? Is that number 1 on the list that we're going to get that taken care of first and everything after that is gravy?
Yeah, I think that has to be your number 1. When have we ever said that a running back can't run?
Right.
I mean, they're in the league for a reason.
Right.
Because they know how to run. But what keeps you in the league is that they're able to pass protect. And that's why these guys are handpicked by Sean McVay on this roster right now currently, that he has a lot more trust in these guys who will be active more so than the young guy, Zach Evans.
Joe Noteboom also activated today, so he's available for the Rams should they need a little depth at offensive line. But have they kind of – you think that even with Noteboom back, is this the group of 5 that Kevin Dotson has settled in at that right guard spot?
I think so. I think they always planned for him when they traded for him that he was going to be a part of this offensive line.
Yep.
He got his opportunity. And, look, I'm a guy who says if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Last week's top 5 or the last week's 5 along that offensive line really did a tremendous job. And Dotson is one of the reasons why. I thought DeMarco said it best. This is a much bigger offensive front. Andrew Whitworth said the same thing.
Yep.
This offensive line is not what we're used to seeing in the Sean McVay era. They were leaner guys. They were moving the ground guys. Now they got what? Big guys who can get off and be road graders and bulldoze and give you some room for running backs.
I thought it was such a cool moment last week when they did run the ball those 9 times in a row. And, yes, we are counting Matthew Stafford's scramble as one of those 9s. But you could see Rob Havenstein kind of look over to the bench and kind of do the finger twirl like, let's keep this thing going, man.
Right.
This is working. And, offensive linemen are kind of nasty guys. They want to put their hands on people, and they want to move them backwards, and they got a chance to do it.
Well, you get pumped up because you're having success in doing it. Sometimes with the passing game, it can be hit or miss, but then you can have blitzes and stunts and things like that. When you run the football, you're actually imposing your will on another man that I'm going to push him where he doesn't want to go.
Right.
And that was a mindset that must have been talked about at halftime because they went down at halftime like, why are we not winning this football game? Well, what's going on? So it was a different mindset that we saw to start the second half.
Well, it's funny because the last week against the Cardinals was kind of the mirror image of what we saw against the Eagles and the 49ers, where the Rams were really good in the first half and then not particularly good in the second half. This was the opposite, where the Rams were really quiet through the first 30 minutes of this game, and then the second half they hit their stride. How do they put them together, Kirk? How do they find 4 quarters of football?
I think everybody has to be on point today. Everybody has to do a little bit more. And, look, we've talked about the running backs, but I want a little more from Tutu Atwell. We always seem to wait to the end of the show to talk about Tyler Higbee, but can he step up a little bit more or give him more opportunities? Obviously, Puka Nacua had, I would say, his least productive game as a Ram, but Cooper Kupp had one of his most productive days as a Ram so far in 2023. A lot of aspects of this game will be a lot different, but they just got to find what works for them. Yes, it's going to be a struggle with some guys who haven't played a lot at the running back position this year, but I trust number 9. And as long as he's taking snaps from center, I feel a lot more comfortable that he's going to put us in the right play at the right time.
JB said it earlier when we were talking with him. He has made some throws this year, Kirk, that looked easy until you watch the replay. You're like, oh my gosh, that window was about 2 footballs big, and he split it right down the middle. That he has made some unbelievable throws. Maybe not a fantasy darling so far through the first 6 weeks, but this might be some of the best football we've seen him play in a Rams uniform.
Yeah, and look, the numbers won't really show up. The numbers are not something that you kind of excited about. I think it's 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But they've been in every game because of Matthew Stafford. As long as he's got the ball, you trust he's going to make the right play. And this is a team that, honestly, is still growing. With each week, we learn something new about these new 2023 Rams.
And this is one of those games, Kirk, that if they're going to get to that 9 wins, this is one that needs to go in the W column.
Correct.
You know, the schedule is a little bit more manageable in the second half after the bye, but this is one of those games, especially seeing what we've seen from the Steelers so far this season, that feels like they got a chance to put in the W column.
Yeah, this is one of those games in which if they win today, it does put them in a better situation for the 2-game road trip that they got coming up against the Dallas Cowboys and Green Bay Packers.
Back-to-back weeks in the early window. They'll play at 10 o'clock in the next 2 weeks, like Kirk said, in Dallas and in Green Bay as well. All right, Steelers and the Rams. Kickoff coming up about 20 minutes from right now. We're going to send it inside SoFi Stadium to JB Long, Maurice Jones-Drew, and DeMarco Farr. They've got you the rest of the way on the Corona